Om Tavakatamratam Tapta Jivanam Kaviviriditham Kalmashapaham Shravanamangalam Shrimadatatam Bhuvigananti Puridachana. Your words are like nectar, bringing life to scorched souls. They are praised by poets and remove all sin. They are auspicious to hear, wonderful and exalted. Those who spread these words throughout the world are truly giving souls. Welcome everyone to our class on the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. We had a slight glitch tonight, so if some of you were hoping to see it at 8 o'clock, you will find that it is not. We were going to do it live streaming. We're recording it, so it'll come later. Of course, by the time you hear me saying this, it'll be the present time, so it won't make any sense. But anyhow, just we're trying to send a message. Okay. We're on the chapter with the devotees at Dakshineshwar, part 1. And, what happened? Yeah. And it's Sunday, June 10th, 1883. The Sri Ramakrishna was sitting in his room with Rakal M. Latu, Kishori, Ramlal, Hazra, and other devotees. So we started that last time. Now we're on page 241. The devotees from Manirampur asked the Master how to realize God. Master, you must practice spiritual discipline a little. It will not do simply to say that milk contains butter. You must let the milk set into curd and then churn it. Only then can you get butter from it. Spiritual aspirants must go into solitude now and then. After acquiring love of God in solitude, they may live in the world. If one is wearing a pair of shoes, one can easily walk over thorns. Now, this is what is technically known as an understatement. You must practice spiritual discipline a little. Actually, we have to do a tremendous amount of spiritual discipline. We talk about the grace of God and about simply surrendering and letting God hold our hand and take us to the goal and everything. But this is as a result of tremendous effort on our part. We have to struggle. We have to do a lot of not so much the length of time, or not so much that it has to be a specific type of spiritual practice, but there has to be tremendous sincerity. We have to have that zeal, that longing, that yearning for God realization. I often feel that if we can't learn to love God, we talk about loving God as if we know what it means. We don't really know, most people, that we can learn to love spiritual practice. And if we reach that point where we feel a zeal, we get some joy out of it, we feel some pull to do our spiritual practice, to call on God, to repeat the name of God, to do our meditation, then we've reached kind of safe ground a little bit. And this is something we can do. And this is the great paradox in spiritual life. We're all longing for that tremendous spontaneity, effortlessness, grace. And we're told that the way to do it is through very sincere, regular, day in and day out, rigorous practice. We wonder, how does such routine, back-breaking work lead to that freedom and spontaneous feeling and joy and everything? It does. This is what Thakur says, that all of our spiritual practice is meant to lead to that state where we can just lean back and say, okay, I'm ready to practice surrender. This is why the bird on the mast has to fly as far as it can possibly fly, in every direction, looking for land, exhausting all of the possibilities, all of its own efforts, before it can come back and sit on the mast and say, oh, okay, and now wherever the ship takes me, I'll be happy. We can't do it in the beginning. There'll always be that feeling in the back of the mind, well, I could always try, I could probably get to land on my own, maybe I'll try again tomorrow. But if we exhaust all of the possibilities, then we can really feel that now there's nothing to do but surrender. I've done everything possible, and this is why I always feel that there's great benefit to the meditation that's a little bit frustrating, that we're a struggle, that we're trying to control the mind is running all over the place, we keep trying to control it, because the end result is that it brings a great spirit of feeling of dedication, and we realize that we're not willing to give up our spiritual practice, even if it's troublesome, even if it's difficult. And so when he says you must practice spiritual discipline a little, this is just so we don't feel that it's impossible, but at least in the beginning, and very often he'll tell it when we see how he explains things to his direct disciples. It's not a little bit. He'll tell them, he'll wake up in the middle of the night. Many times they would stay in his room. They would sleep in his room or sleep on the outside veranda. They would make a little bed on the floor, and they would sleep for an hour or two, and Thakur would get up in the middle of the night and wake them all up. It may be midnight. It may be 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, wake them up. What are you doing? Are you wasting your time? Sit for meditation. And they would slump over a little bit, he'd straighten them up. And he would make little things. Then he'd say, go to the Panchavati, meditate there. So he really encouraged us to do a tremendous amount of spiritual practice, not just a little bit.
Who is he talking to, Swami?
He's talking to the devotee from Manirampur. We don't know who it is. We don't know how sincere he is. We don't know if Thakur says that no, day and night you have to practice meditation, that he'll run away and that'll be the end of him. So we can assume that this is somebody who's not a close devotee. We don't even know his name. And maybe Thakur sees that he doesn't have the inner stuff to do really hard spiritual practice. Most people, it's a question of what our capability is. Thakur always uses this concept of adhar, of receptacle, that we're all like different pots and pitchers and buckets and all of different sizes, and we all can hold a certain amount of water. That means that we can do a certain amount of spiritual practice, we can withstand a certain amount of spiritual ecstasy and joy. Others, it'll overflow very easily. So he used to say that Narendra, he was a this huge cistern that they keep in his room filled with Ganges water. He could take a full bath there if it was he wasn't feeling well, didn't go to the Ganges. Others would be little pitchers and things. So we don't know too much about them. We were introduced before, devotees from Manirampur. I don't know where that is even. Anyhow, he probably won't say that in private to his own monastic disciples. He would tell them, you need to make tremendous effort for God realization. Then of course, this going into solitude. This is something that he recommends after holy company. This is the most important. Very often he'll say, if you can't get holy company, then practice spiritual disciplines in solitude. In solitude, we don't have distractions. And there's a certain degree of internal honesty. We find out who we are and what we want. We're not doing it for anybody to see. We're free to do if we want to pretend that we're sitting meditating. We can read a book and do something else, watch a video or something that no one will know. It's completely up to us. It's a real test of our sincerity, this going into solitude. And I have this theory that I've mentioned so many times, but in the presence of other people, we feel ourselves to be this visible body. And we feel ourselves to be an object in the room with other people. We spend a lot of time in solitude. We forget that element of our existence, and we feel ourselves to be awareness, to be consciousness. As soon as somebody walks in, then everything changes. Say we're sitting in a room alone and we're singing a song, happily singing. So somebody walks in, all of a sudden this embarrassment comes, self-consciousness comes. And we realize that we're something visible. I can be seen by somebody else. If I'm by myself for a long time, then I almost forget that, there was one very nice incident when Swamiji was in Swamiji House, Pasadena, when they saw him standing in front of the mirror looking at himself. And they thought, I forget who it was, Handeborough, so they thought, oh, he also has his vanity. Wants this. And then Swamiji said something like, how strange it is to see that I have a body. Something like that. And because he knew himself to be the self, to be this pure consciousness. When we're in solitude for a long time, we can have that feeling that I am that consciousness in which this whole world finds its existence. So the solitude, living in solitude, is a tremendous spiritual practice. When Swamiji was traveling throughout India, his brother disciples kept trying to find him and travel with him. They loved his company so much, and they were concerned for his welfare and his health and everything, but he loved to be alone. He kept trying to leave and just practice that solitude. So it's a great spiritual discipline to be able to live in solitude. Many people instantly, not just boredom, but some type of existential dilemma comes that they don't know what to do or how to pass their time, just alone. So, solitude can also be, so we turn on television. We're all alone, we're just watching, but to be able to live with ourselves and know ourselves and be comfortable with ourselves and not need any external stimulus for our own pleasure, to understand the nature of the self. This comes from solitude, and not everyone can do it. Some people, they benefit more from holy company, which is fine. It's a little bit of a kind of a personality distinction. Some people really, they're fit for it, and they like it. They love to live alone. There's a beautiful Buddhist poem I remember reading years ago, something about walking alone like the rhinoceros. Anybody know that? Yeah. So that idea of the sadhu just going off alone. Because aloneness, kaivalya, this aloneness is the term that they use in Sankhya Yoga for God realization. Realizing ourselves to be alone, not lonely, but we have ourselves as our best friend, as our best company. We like being alone. We like being with ourselves. It's a very nice thing if we can attain to that. Then he says, Thakur says, the most important thing is faith. As is a man's meditation, so is his feeling of love. As is a man's feeling of love, so is his gain. And faith is the root of all. The interesting, there's an interesting, the language that's used here. It's a little couplet from a Bengali song or poem or something like that. Pratyaya, pratyaya. And Jaman bhav tenmi labh. This bhav is such a hard word to translate. On one level, it also means, as is our attitude, so is our gain. If we do something with love and devotion, then we'll get something out of it, whether we're successful or not. If we try to do something and we do it with perfect unselfishness, longing to do it as an offering, and with a very good attitude, no ulterior motive or anything, then we'll get, that's the degree to which we'll benefit from it. Not whether it's perfectly successful. We do a painting, and we do the great love and devotion. We want to do it as an offering. It doesn't come out so good. It doesn't matter. With that feeling that we had when we were doing it. So bhava grahi janardana. We have this saying that the Lord only cares for the feeling, for our heart, for our love. Not whether we can sing beautifully, we can do this or that. If we do it with devotion, then we gain from that.
Swamiji,
Yeah.
Mulo se pratyaya, what does that mean? Mulo se
Yeah, this faith is the root of all. So they're translating that pratyaya in Sanskrit as faith. It can be translated in so many different ways. Huh? What would we say, Krishnadi? How will you translate that in this context? It can be faith. Or it can be feeling. Huh? Or some can be conviction. Yeah. See, conviction in Sanskrit we have two words that are very often translated the same way. Shraddha and Vishwasa. And very often they're faith, but this Vishwasa is a very deep type of conviction that comes at the very end of spiritual life. Shraddha is something that we have to have at the very beginning. In the beginning, we have to have a little humility, a little openness, a little reverence for the tradition and for the teacher, all of these things. We don't have to have any deep conviction about the truth of things. We approach a teacher and say, I'm confused, I don't really understand these things, but I see your sparkling character, and I see the joy in your face, and I know you've achieved something. Please explain it to me. Please teach me so that I can develop this. And then the teacher says, okay, this is the teaching, and we start to develop a little conviction. And then we're told, okay, that the real self is a pure awareness, something different from the body and mind and the senses. And gradually we develop that conviction that it's true. And it's just one stage before that realization. I'll quote Swami Swahananji again, because he very often used to say that conviction itself is a type of realization. Type of realization. And many times when people would ask him, have you realized God? And he said, I have a little conviction. He would say it that way. So that meant that some type of experience, conviction means the doubts are gone. So some type of, or at least we're convinced of the efficacy of it. I have a conviction that if I follow this path, I'll get to the end. It doesn't mean that I've reached the end or anything, but in the beginning, this shraddha, I have to have this little humility. So we translate it as faith. It doesn't really mean faith like you tell me something, I believe it. But it means I'm open to it. I have to speak on this subject on this Sunday, so I'm thinking about it. But say Swamiji, he questions everything that Sri Ramakrishna said. Did he not have shraddha? He did. For him, that's how it manifested itself. I won't accept it just because you say it, but I want to understand it. And because I know that you're not a madman. I know that I see something in you, that your behavior is a bit odd. Sometimes it seems like you're hallucinating and everything, but look at the purity and look at the love and everything. There's something there. So I want to know, but I won't pretend that I understand it if I don't understand it. This is also a type of shraddha. Then the devotee says, sir, is it necessary to have a guru? Now, one thing we have to understand is that this guru tradition is something which many of us will assume was always there in India. That there was always reverence for the teacher, that there was always this tradition in spiritual life that you find in guru, and that'll be your guide in spiritual life. But because of Probably because of the British and Western thinking and independence and all of that. During Thakur's time, there was a lot of skepticism about this, especially the Brahmo Samaj people. They didn't accept this guru-shishya relationship. They would have their acharya. They would have someone who would give some type of sermon. But this idea to be subservient to another person and that we can go to God directly, some idea like that, they thought was some old-fashioned type of idea. So very often we'll see the Brahmos will ask that question. And sometimes sincerely. Sometimes it seems like they're really saying that, well, our tradition doesn't emphasize this idea of the guru, but we see in so many cases how helpful and valuable it is. Is it necessary? Then I always have this reaction. Why do they ask, is it necessary? As if it's something bad. As if it's necessary to take bitter medicine to get better. Huh? Why don't they ask, can we do it? To the Brahmo people. Yeah, you say it's not necessary. Okay, so what if it's not necessary? But what if I find it to be a tremendous aid in spiritual life, very helpful in spiritual life? Can I do it? So we don't know exactly what he's thinking, if this devotee is a Brahmo or what. But Thakur will always give an answer that will be a little bit tailored to the person asking the question. And this happens in two ways. One, he used to say, I don't like to do anything to harm the spiritual ideal of anybody. So that's one thing. Do something that will be suitable to them. Sometimes he'll say, oh, you're a jnani, you'll like this type of story. Then he'll tell something. The other thing is, if he sees a defect, if he sees that there's some lack that he can, or some misconception, he'll try to very gently explain something to remove that. So very often he'll talk against this idea of guru, and he'll say that I'm nobody's guru. People approach him as worship him as the guru. I'm nobody's guru. I'm nothing. I am the dust of your feet. He'll say things like that. This is his humility. It's not that he doesn't believe in this idea of the guru, and then very often he'll say God himself is the guru. Now that doesn't mean we don't need a human guru. It means we look upon the human guru as a special manifestation of the divine. So we'll get lots of different types of answers to this one question. So he says, yes, many need a guru. Now this to me is very similar to that statement, you must practice spiritual discipline a little. Another kind of understatement. Really, if we think about it, the chances of succeeding in spiritual life, and by succeeding I mean really God realization, without a guru are so much lower. The odds are so much more stacked against us that I don't want to say it's impossible, but even with the help of a guru, how many of us will become God-realized souls? And I like that illustration that Thakur gives about getting a hold of that chain that's connected to, he says, a log or a treasure chest that's buried in the ocean. Now, if somebody says, well, why can't I just dive down and keep diving till I find that box? You can. What are the chances that you'll get it? But then somebody says, well, what if somebody hands you a chain and the chain is connected to it? And you just go link by link by link that you absolutely will get to it one day. You don't know how long, how many links there are, how far it is, but you'll absolutely get to it. Won't you do it? So I say, is it necessary for somebody to give me the chain? What a silly question. Is it necessary for somebody to give me the key to open the door when I could just break the door down or do any other way to get in? So anyway, I always find it a very odd question. So he says, yes, many need a guru, but a man must have faith in the guru's words. This is that shraddha. Shraddha means, the classic definition is faith in the teachings of the guru and the words of the scriptures. Faith, not, again, Not that everything they say will blindly follow and believe without understanding it. Faith that is good for us. Faith that if we strive to understand it, we'll see the truth behind it. And to be able to say, I don't understand it, but I know that that's my inability, that I haven't been able to there's something lacking in my understanding. Not to say that I don't understand it, it's wrong, it's false. In Gita, if there's any such thing as a qualification for bhakti, it's shraddha. This is the one time when he says people lacking in shraddha shouldn't even hear these truths. This is how much emphasis he puts on this idea of shraddha. If we don't have that humility, if we don't have that openness, if we don't realize that we don't have all the answers ourselves, and as soon as somebody says something, we have a counter argument, we just want to prove that they're wrong and that we're right, then there's no chance of gaining anything in spiritual life. So Thakur says, yes, many need a guru, but a man must have faith in the guru's words. He succeeds in spiritual life by looking on his guru as God himself. Now, whether we take this literally or not, Jnani will say everyone is a manifestation. God dwells within all beings. What it really means is that we have reverence for the guru that is greater than the reverence we have for anyone else. Because this is the one person who is taking responsibility, not just for physical life or social life or material things, but for our spiritual life. This is our greatest friend, our greatest well-wisher in spiritual life, in Guru. And Guru only cares for seeing us succeed. And Guru wants us to be greater than himself or herself. So naturally we'll look upon Guru as God himself come in human form for our welfare. So if we have that type of loving relationship, and we look upon it in Guru as really the manifestation of grace. How does grace manifest in the world? If when we find in Guru and we find the spiritual path, then this is the first type of grace. It is not the grace that we think of, that the sky will open up and we'll get struck with lightning and we'll have some fall down in some trance. But this is that initial grace which allows us to transform ourselves, allows the whole life to be transformed. Thakur talks about, the king going to visit one of the subjects in his small kingdom. They're poor people. So before he won't just walk into somebody's house, he'll send his ministers first, and they'll come with their cleaning equipment. They'll clean up everything. They'll bring some nice furniture. They'll bring a nice tea set and some nice tea and everything, so that when the king comes, he can be served nicely by all of them. So when all of these things come, this is the first type of grace. Then we know it means that God himself will enter. But first we have to purify the heart and we have to prepare for it. But even the desire to do that is grace. Is a type of grace. So yes, this Mahapurusha Samshraya, this is one of the three types of grace. It's mentioned in Vivek Chudamani, this human birth, this longing for liberation or for God realization, and getting the grace of these great souls who only care for our well-being. Therefore the Vaishnavas speak of Guru, Krishna and Vaishnava. There's a footnote. The master meant that the Guru, Krishna and the Vaishnava were to be equally revered. We may say we look upon them all as God, manifestation of God, or just to be equally revered. One should honor the Vaishnava. The Vaishnava here, we can just say devotee of God. That those who have that dedication and that longing and have that some type of divinity awakened within them, or at least are on that path, We show special reverence and love to them, because God dwells in his heart. One should constantly repeat the name of God. Very often, if Thakur would ask, this happened in the case with Swami Bhaskarananda. Bhaskarananda from not our Bhaskaranandaji, they're from Benares. Then Thakur asked, I think, who was it? Manilal? Somebody went to see him, and he asked what was his teaching, and he said, repeat the name of God, repeat the name of Rama. Now we would say, oh, anybody can say that. What type of great saint is he just to give that teaching? But Thakur said, wonderful. This is all we need. This is a great teaching to follow that. Because repeating the name brings to mind the object that is being named. If we just do it mechanically, then it'll have some effect. But if we do it, say we love somebody, and we keep repeating their name. We're thinking of them. The more we repeat, the more we think of the person, and the more that we feel that love for them and attraction and everything. So there's tremendous power in the name of God. One should constantly repeat the name of God. The name of God is highly effective in the Kali Yuga. The practice of yoga is not possible in this age, for the life of a man depends on food. Onnogoto pran. Yeah. This, we don't have to bother too much about these different yugas, but the idea is that we recognize our limitations. We recognize that we can't spend long hours in meditation without the mind wandering and without getting tired and without the body aching. Most of us don't have the mental or physical strength for that. And to go on long pilgrimages, to do yajnas, do all of these different things that we simply don't have the constitution for it. Anybody can repeat the name of God. The japa is something that anybody can do, and is highly effective. So he says the name of God is highly effective in the Kali Yuga. The practice of yoga. Now, when Thakur says yoga here, he's talking about meditation, Raja Yoga. This term yoga is used in different ways in different places. Sometimes in Gita we see yoga, it means karma yoga. We have Sankhya yoga. The Sankhya will be the philosophy, karma yoga will be the practice. So it's used in different ways. When Thakur uses it, especially in this context, he's talking about Raja Yoga or meditation. It's not possible. That means that there's a very strict type of meditative practice where we try to still all of the vrittis of the mind and make the mind perfectly quiet and everything. Very difficult. Very few people can do that. Even Thakur had trouble doing it. Of course, he did it, but so we practice yoga and meditation with a good dose of devotion added to it, and it's very helpful and easier for us that way, repeating the name of God and everything. Clap your hands while repeating God's name, and the birds of your sin will fly away. Now, this sounds like a very beautiful poetic thing, but Thakur meant it literally, and he did it. That when he would get up in the morning, he would go around in front of the pictures, repeating the name and clap his hands. And we know that funny incident when Totopuri said, see, Totopuri was from the Punjab. And in the Punjab, when they make their chapatis, they won't use a rolling pin. They'll go like this, do it back and forth. So when he saw Thakur taking the name of God and clapping his hands, he said, what are you doing? You're making chapatis. He said to tease him. But he would do that. He would, Thakur for Thakur, everything that he could do in a literal, tangible way, physical way, left a deeper impression on the mind. So even something like clapping your hands, it gives that joyful feeling. So he recommended all of these things. One should always seek the company of holy men. Holy men means holy people, holy men and holy women. Thakur used to say that this is one thing that we can never get too much of. It's not that, oh, I've already seen that holy person, now I'll try to see another one, then I've seen them and I don't need to do it anymore. The more we keep their company, the more some transference comes, the more we benefit, the more we feel that joy and that conviction and that calmness, that we'll get all of those things that just through their company. Only we have to be receptive. And of course, we're told to ask questions also. Pariprashna. That we ask questions, we show our reverence, we do a little service, all of these things. These are all helpful things. The nearer you approach the Ganges, the cooler the breeze will feel. If we say we want to approach God, well, we don't know exactly how to do it. If we can approach a God-like person, or a God-realized person, or someone whose whole life is devoted to God, then we get that similar type of benefit. The nearer you approach the Ganges, the cooler the breeze will feel. Again, the nearer you go to a fire, the hotter the air will feel. But one cannot achieve anything through laziness and procrastination. People who desire worldly enjoyment say about spiritual progress, well, it will all happen in time. We shall realize God sometime or other. This is okay for I would say the majority of people. Thakur he came really for a handful of people with regard to this intensity of spiritual life, and he came for everybody with regard to setting an ideal which people can gradually try to attain to. But for the group of people who came to him while he was living, and his inner circle, he couldn't bear to see them not have that intensity and that tremendous longing, and feel that I don't want to waste a second. That they just this is the real meaning of that Bakulata, that life is miserable without the realization of God. He wanted to see that in them, to increase that type of longing in them. But this is really, they were born with such tremendous samskaras and purity of heart and longing for God that can be their teaching. For us, this is the final stage. We have to do whatever we can to try to increase it. We shouldn't feel bad if we don't have it. It's a very rare thing. And if we get it, this is that glow of pink in the sky before the sun comes up. Aruna Udaya, Thakur says. That so that's the final stage. If somebody says that I have to realize God this very moment or else life isn't worth living, it doesn't mean anything, for most people. And some people, they may have a little type of derangement or something. We don't want somebody to kill themselves if they start to have that type of feeling. It doesn't mean that. It's a different type of thing. I've always been curious about this Pannalal Bhattacharya, the great singer of the Ram Prasad songs. He committed suicide when he was very young. And whole soul was given to singing these songs to the Divine Mother. And I always felt he must have known, studied the life of Thakur and everything. Did anybody know anything about his personal life? Shukladi? No. Yeah. I mean, in his case, it could have been a very sincere type of thing. But anyhow, for us at least, we have to, if we don't have this tremendous longing for God, we can't live another minute. At least we have to get rid of this procrastination and say, I'll put it off, I can do it later. Because we form bad habits. And the desire to do it later becomes less and less if we don't do it now. Really, the habits that we form in spiritual life that are done when we're young are the best. Those who come to spiritual life at a young age and form these habits, get into this practice of doing regular spiritual disciplines, then they're set for life. A little harder when we're older. Of course, when we're older, we've seen enough of life to benefit from that. That no, I've seen that, I don't want that. I'm done with that. That's also a benefit. But those who start from a very young age can develop this longing, and this really a type of attachment to spiritual practice, that we don't want to miss it, that it becomes integral, it becomes a part of our life, like the food that we have, the water we drink, the sleep that we get. If we can get that feeling, then we're on safe ground a little bit in spiritual life. I said to Keshav Sen, when a father sees that his son has become restless for his inheritance, he gives him his share of the property even 3 years before the legal time. So we may say that, yes, doing my spiritual practice, I'm making some progress, this and that by the end of life I should be able to have some type of realization. Okay, then somebody else says, no, I want it now, I want it this second. And they say, I won't let you go until I get it. Those people can sincerely do it. Problem is that we don't do it sincerely. We say, yeah, that's true, but there's a basketball game tonight. Let me watch that first. We just don't have that. There's nothing wrong with it. We shouldn't feel guilty, or we're not bad people or anything. But it's a very rare soul, the result of long spiritual practice or very good samskaras or some type of grace, that don't care for anything but God. They're very, very rare thing. And we've seen some of our great swamis, really wonderful swamis, they also have other interests. Now, they may have had some type of realization also, but many of them, they'll enjoy other things also. So, but that, yeah, we have to be careful about comparing ourselves to him. No, but I'm saying his case is really different. He had to do these things to keep his mind down. It's the opposite. He did take some, and this is also after his God realization. When he was in the midst of his spiritual madness, would he have gone to the theater then? He didn't know anything but mother. Yeah. And then afterwards, he needed something to keep the mind from constantly getting merged in Brahman. So that's a little bit different.
He was so Thakur in circus too, that he saw all these things.
Yeah. But I'm saying, this is all after his God realization and everything. Yeah, he had a human side to him. Yeah, everybody has a human side. The avatar has a human side. They can also enjoy things. As the avatar, he had to have these traits that we can identify with also. Yeah. And if he didn't, it would be so hard for us to even feel that we live in the same planet that he lived on. So, yeah, but still, we can't say, and we have to say, he knew nothing but God. Everything else that he enjoyed, still, it's saw divinity, and it's a little different. A mother keeps on cooking while the baby is in bed, sucking its toy. But when it throws the toy away and cries for her, she puts down the rice pot and takes the baby in her arms and nurses it. I said all this to Keshav. Keshav, of course, was the leader of the Brahmo Samaj at that time. Anyhow, what Thakur is telling us is that we need a little sense of urgency. A little sense of urgency, that we don't want to reach the end of our lives and have regrets. This is a very, very important thing, even if we don't have God realization. If we can come to the end of our life and say, yes, I made a sincere, honest attempt at God realization. I really tried to live my life as an offering. I tried to follow all of these teachings. I tried to be sincere. I tried to be unselfish. I have all of my faults. I have all of my weaknesses. I know all of that, but at least I tried. Then we can have some contentment at the end of our lives. Otherwise, I've seen those, even some of our monks at the end, they say, I could have done so much more. Why didn't I go to the shrine when I should have? Why didn't I do this? Filled with some type of regret. It's a very sad thing to see. So, even from that point of view, just to have a little contentment at the end, that we did what we're supposed to do in this life. There's a great statement that Swami Turiyananda made. Somebody asked him about that. He said, I feel that I've done what one is meant to do in this lifetime. Something like that. Yeah. For him, of course, that meant God realization. For us, it means sincerely trying, making a very sincere. This sincerity is the key to everything. If we can be sincere in life, and it's not so easy. We can talk about being sincere. The only one who knows if we're sincere is ourselves. We deep down we know to what extent we really mean what we say and believe what we say we believe and all of that. But we try to be sincere. It is said that in the Kali Yuga, if a man can weep for God one day and one night, he sees Him. So this is the benefit of being born in this yuga, in this age, that the requirements are less. But this means not just day and night, it means 24 hours a day. This means really that with great intensity weeping for God. Thakur used to say so many times that people shed jugfuls of tears for a wife and husband and children and parents and land and all these things, but who weeps for God? We may do it just every once in a while. We'll feel something, tears will come. It happens to many people. It's a very wonderful thing. Thakur, if he ever hears about that someone will say, oh, we saw so-and-so the other day weeping for God. Thakur will say, wonderful. How wonderful it is. But 24 hours straight to do it, it's not a joke. Thakur did it for something like 6 months. that period that he had, his first period of sadhana. Feel piqued at God and say to Him, this is a very typical attitude of the Shaktas, the worshippers of the Divine Mother. There's man, abhiman. The same way that a child will feel towards the mother, that I asked you for that, you didn't give it to me, I'm not going to look at you. I'm going to tell everybody what you did. A little bit of hurt pride, it's very nice. It's hard to give a good definition for this, abhiman. How will you explain it? Apurva. Yeah, you gave birth to me, you have to reveal yourself to me. You have to do it. Am I nobody? Am I chopped liver? You have to, yeah. Yeah, so forcing the demands. Thakur liked this idea. So it's feel piqued at God and say to Him, you have created me. Now you must reveal yourself to me. Whether you live in the world or elsewhere, always fix your mind on God. So Thakur didn't like too much of the distinction between, this is a monk, this is a householder. The monk can achieve anything, a householder can't do anything. That's all a question of where the mind is. If we can fix the mind on God, then it doesn't matter where we are, it doesn't matter what stage of life we're in, what type of work we do. Of course, it has to be ethical and everything. I mean, it's not that we can do anything, but the main thing is, where is the mind? The mind is the key to the whole thing. So whether you live in the world or elsewhere, always fix your mind on God. The mind soaked in worldliness may be compared to a wet matchstick. Thakur uses this illustration of soaking the mind very often. We soak it in the dye of the world. He says that the mind is like cloth just come back from the laundry. That if we want to dye something, then we want it nice and clean and white cloth. We stick it in the dye, and it'll take, if it's a little bit dirty and oily and everything, it won't take the dye. So this is a way of saying that the mind will easily pick up that we're very susceptible to associations and whatever company we keep and everything. So if we live with worldly people, then we're soaking the mind in worldliness. If we do worldly things, if we spend all of our time just enjoyments and pleasures and all of that, then the mind gets soaked that way. Then it becomes like a wet matchstick. You won't get a spark, however much you may rub it. So we can do all the meditation, all the spiritual practice that we want. If the mind is soaked in worldliness, if the mind is damp, we can't get a spark out of it. Ekalavya placed the clay image of Drona, his teacher, in front of him, and thus learned archery. There's a footnote. The story is in the Mahabharata. Drona refused to teach Ekalavya archery because the latter belonged to a low caste. Thereupon, Ekalavya went to the forest and practiced archery before the clay image of Drona, whom he regarded as his teacher. In course of time, he became an expert archer. When Drona discovered that he excelled even Arjuna, Drona's most beloved disciple, in this art, he asked Ekalavya to give him his thumb as the teacher's fee. By carrying out this order, Ekalavya demonstrated his spirit of self-sacrifice and also his love for his teacher. Now, why does Thakur mention this story? I think he hasn't forgotten that initial question, is the Guru necessary? And he's going all around this way and that way and everything to come back to this idea, even if it's in the form of an image, that the Guru is necessary somehow. Go forward. The woodcutter, following the instructions of the holy man, went forward and found in the forest sandalwood and mines of silver and gold, and going still farther, he found diamonds and other precious stones. This is Thakur's way of saying that in spiritual life, we reach plateaus. And sometimes we may think that plateau is good enough. We've reached a nice space. We're happy with that. That we do enough meditation so that afterwards we feel a little bit calm. We feel rested and everything. Then Thakur says, okay, that's okay. But don't you know that there are stages beyond that where you'll feel tremendous joy? Keep going a little further, and you'll see that you've just reached the first stage. So after each one, don't think you've reached the end. When you've reached the end, you'll know it. That's a different story. When we have that ultimate realization, no one will have to tell us that we reached the final stage. Any further place to go, we'll know it. This is the test that it carries within it its own pramana. Is self, swayam siddha, something like that. Self-proven. So the woodcutter, following the instructions of the holy man, went forward and found in the forest sandalwood and mines of silver and gold, and going still farther, he found diamonds and other precious stones. The ignorant are like people living in a house with clay walls. There is very little light inside, and they cannot see outside at all. But those who enter the world after attaining the knowledge of God are like people living in a house made of glass. For them both inside and outside are light. They can see things outside as well as inside. Now, Thakur makes two different statements, similar things at different times. He'll say, first realize God, then live in the world. And then we think, what in the world is he talking about? Other times he'll say, first develop devotion, then live in the world. That we can do. When he says first realize God, we have to take it as meaning that get established in spiritual life. Get some conviction. Reach that level of safety somehow. Then live in the world. If it's waiting until we have God realization before we do anything in the world, how many people can do that? Very few people can do it. So I think when he says first develop devotion, that's a way of understanding what he means. First realize God and then live in the world. First of all, half the people who realize God, they won't come back. We don't know how many people, if we have that the highest type of realization, that nirvikalpa samadhi and everything. Very few people can come back from that. So at least realize that this is the one goal of life, that this is our true nature, that I'm living in some type of false reality, not knowing what things really are and the value of things, and that I've been given some teaching which I accept. At least get established in that. Then we'll have a little safety. Thakur says in another place, getting this bhakti is like wearing shoes, and we can walk over the thorns. We have to go through a forest full of thorns. If we develop this bhakti, love of God, knowledge of God, also a little bit, then we'll be safe. We won't get the thorns stuck in our feet. Nothing exists except the One. That One is the Supreme Brahman. So long as He keeps the I in us, He reveals to us that it is He who, as the primal energy, creates, preserves, and destroys the universe. Now, I'm going to stop. We'll start with this next time. We get into a whole new topic here. We get a little bit of philosophy. All of these philosophical points have a psychological way of understanding them also, which I'll talk about a little bit next time, that we don't have to say that Brahman alone is real, but this is the one reality, that is something that substantial that we can hold on to. We don't have to say the world is like a dream in any metaphysical sense, but we all know sometimes it has this dream-like quality to it. So from a psychological point of view. Anyhow, we'll stop there, and for those of you who tried to log on at 8 o'clock to see this, join the class, we apologize, and we'll get it. There was some change in the format this time. Okay, we will end with our chant. Om Niranjanam Nityamanantarupam Bhaktanugham Bhatvavigraham Lai Ishavataram Parameshamedhyam Tam Ramakrishnam Shirasa Namama. We bow our heads before Sri Ramakrishna, who is stainless, of infinite nature, whose heart melts in sympathy for his devotees, who is an embodiment of the divine and the Supreme Lord, and ever worthy of our worship. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Peace, peace, peace be unto all. I want to remind everybody also of a slight change in our format. Now, this Friday night class, I used to do it ahead of time, but we're starting at 8 o'clock. If anybody, double vaccinated people, anybody wants to come and attend in person, you're all welcome. As you can see, we're conducting it in the basement for now. Okay, thank you. Jai Ma.